Hey everyone, welcome back to the Little Shop of Hoarders and the PDX Picker channel. I am Chris. I have some orders that have sold for me on eBay, and I got a topic that came from a comment on my last video. Somebody suggested they wanted me to do a video comparing and contrasting the other reseller sites out there besides just eBay. What are the pros and cons of those? So I'm going to be doing that while I'm pulling a few orders along the way. So let's get right into it. I actually felt like a real YouTube reseller this last week. I had a couple of typical YouTuber reseller events happen to me. I had somebody recognize me at the thrift store. He told me his name. I'm terrible with names. I forgot it. So if you are watching, it was a pleasure to meet you. It was really fun to see somebody who is a viewer out in the wild. Good luck with your reselling ventures for sure. And then I also had a viewer sale. These items were already pulled and shipped last week, but Joe from Hipster Flips, thank you so much for your purchase. I really appreciate that. He bought a couple items from me, and he has a very large eBay store. Hipster.flips is what his eBay store is, so go ahead and check it out on there. Looks like he has a lot of great things. Let's go ahead and pull an item or two, order or two, and then we'll talk about the topic along the way. By the way, I'd already filmed this video, and I thought about it, and it was really jumbled, so some of these things have already been pulled. That's why they're sitting here on the table. But I got several orders that came in over the last couple of hours as well, so we have some new orders to pull, and I won't sound like such an idiot when I'm talking about the topic. But this first item that sold is in this box right here. This came from my storage unit by one of the better, a decent item for sure. This is a WeBoost home multi-room system. Comes with this main piece and then a couple of antennas and cables and stuff in there. It's like a cell phone extender signal booster for your home. I don't have anything to test that. I don't have any of the power cables. So I listed that for $100 plus shipping, no returns, parts only, and somebody bought it. So not too bad at all on that one. So let's get into the main topic. I sell primarily on eBay. About 95% of my sales are on eBay. About 4.9% of my sales are on Poshmark, and then whatever is left over, I sell a little bit on Mercari and Depop. I also sell a decent amount on Facebook for some of the bigger items, but I don't really include that in here just because it's a lot of the times it's storage unit buys or things that I'm selling around the house. It's not stuff that I buy for resale purposes. So I don't, like I said, I don't really include that in there. But eBay is far and away the big winner when it comes to platforms. And the simple reason for that is through the research that I have gathered by watching other YouTube resellers. I kind of know how the eBay algorithm works. Kind of know how to maximize my store to get the most out of my listings. Looking for sell-through rate, looking for items that have been posted for many months that aren't really getting any views, that are kind of dragging down my store, ending those items, relisting them, listing items every day, that sort of thing. We know what they are, but I based off of the research that I've done, my own anecdotal experiences, I kind of know how to best, or at least maximize for my purposes, the eBay algorithm. So that's why I really like it. It doesn't mean it is, I think at this point I would prefer to sell the vast majority of my items on Poshmark if I could. I like the Poshmark experience overall as a reseller more than I like eBay in many ways. One of the main reasons why I like Poshmark more than eBay is because, for the most part, they don't allow any returns. Clothing, no matter if you buy it and the person hates it or they don't fit into it at all, if they don't like it, too bad. They have to keep it. The only way that Poshmark will allow somebody to return an item is if there is some sort of damage in shipping or the item was just not at all how it was described. For example, recently I sold a pair of Nike shoes. Totally should have realized, but once the buyer got them, he said, "These look fake. Pretty sure they're fake." He showed some of the pictures and highlighted what he thought, or the reasons why he thought they were fake. I completely agreed. I think they were fake. Pretty sure they were fake, so I accepted that return. But that's like the only way that there's going to be a return. Damage, or the item was not at all what you said it was. Compare that to eBay, where for the most part people can return something because it looked at them the wrong way or it made them feel bad. You know, like, I mean, I'm just saying, like, people on eBay can return an item for any reason, and that kind of sucks. So that's why Poshmark for sure has a big benefit, a big pro in its pro and con list over eBay. I also like the fact that for Poshmark, shipping is pretty cut and dry. As long as the item is under 5 pounds and you can fit it in a box, you're going to be able to ship it to the buyer for $6.49 and the buyer pays that amount. So you don't have to worry about shipping. You don't have to worry about how much to charge for shipping. As long as it's below 5 pounds, you're pretty safe. Now, a negative to that, though, is for any reason, if you do have an item that is above 5 pounds and you try and sell it on Poshmark, that is not usually a good idea because Poshmark upcharges you on shipping crazy amounts, like $10+ for every pound over 5 pounds. So it can get really spendy really fast if you don't make sure that that item is below 5 pounds. So that's a pro and a con, and of course, probably the biggest con from Poshmark for Poshmark resellers is the 20% seller's fee that you have to pay on every item that sells. It's the highest of any of the reselling platforms that I'm aware of, but of course that is countered by no returns and you don't have to worry about shipping. This item sold, it is a Johnston's of Elgin, made in Scotland, cashmere sweater. Picked this up for $12.99, I believe, and that sold for $62 plus shipping. This is a really nice sweater. It does have a little flaw on the back, otherwise it would have been even more. But the thing with this is I sold it on eBay, so I could ship this to the buyer. The buyer could try it on, decide they don't like it, ship it back to me, and now I'm stuck having to pay them a refund, obviously. But with Poshmark, like I said, don't really have to worry about that. So the other thing is with Poshmark, you can kind of figure out the algorithm. Like there are some ways that I've discovered to work the Poshmark algorithm, because there's a big social aspect of Poshmark when it comes to sharing your listings, when it comes to following other Poshmark sellers. There's parties, I think, Poshmark parties that people do, like live selling events and things. I haven't looked into any or done any of that. I do all of that stuff automatically by paying a monthly fee for Posher VA, basically where it does all the following for me automatically. It also sends out offers automatically for me, which is great. I have a ton of sales that I get for when somebody likes an item of mine, will automatically send an offer to that person, 10% off the item after like 3 minutes. I've had a ton of sales with that. So I've figured out a way to, like I said, kind of game the algorithm, not game it, but just maximize the algorithm for my Poshmark closet to be at least semi-effective enough to where I sell probably about $3,000 to $4,000 on Poshmark every year. So nothing revolutionary or outrageous, but I know that people they sell only on Poshmark, right? And they do really well. So if you are able to focus more on clothing, I sell so many non-clothing items, and that's another downside to Poshmark is you can sell most things on Poshmark, but there's a lot of things that you can't, like tools, not that you can't sell them, but they maybe don't sell as well. Tools, sporting goods, toys, collectibles, things of that. You can sell all those on Poshmark, but it doesn't really have the audience, because so much of what I like to sell are things in those types of categories. I'm just touching on a few things. There's dozens and dozens of other categories that are similar. It can make it difficult to sell exclusively on Poshmark for somebody like me. This is a carbon underlayer, 100% merino wool. Carbon is the brand. I hope you can see that, Karbon. Really nice high-end underlayer. I don't know if they make I'm sure they make tons of other clothing, but bought that for $7.99, and that sold for $28 plus shipping on eBay as well. So if that makes sense, if you take the time to figure out how to maximize the algorithm for your store, most any reselling platform can work for you if you figure out how to do that. I haven't figured out how to do that, or at least I used to know kind of how to do it on Mercari, but I don't know how to do it now at all on Mercari, and I don't really know how to do it on Depop. Those are the other two platforms that I sell on. I still list on there, nowhere near the volume that I list on even Poshmark, and nowhere near the volume at all that I list on eBay. This item sold, it's a Lancome lipstick. Paid 50 cents for this, essentially sold $14, free shipping on offer. And then this was a really nice sale. This is a big pile of Transformers, modern Transformers comics. There's, I think, 22 there total. Sold to somebody who has comics in their username. So I don't know if they resell, if they have a comic shop, or they just love to collect comics. But anyway, these are modern. There's 19 of the 25 that have been released in this, plus 3 extras, and that sold for $70 plus shipping. This came from my $40 comic buy, which I'm well into the profit on, and so this is all 100% profit. So really nice, probably the best. I think that's going to be the highest dollar item or items out of all of the comics that I have, but I have a lot of $15 to $20 pieces left, so hopefully I can make at least, I don't know, maybe $500 or $600 off of those comics, which was quite awesome. Mercari, I used to, like I said, I used to know what to do on that one. I used to be able to sell, that was my second highest platform, was Mercari. Because it's set up much more like eBay. It's an everything platform. All different categories sell well, so it really is just kind of like an eBay Lite. There's not as many users, not as many sellers. And the nice thing about it is the fees are a little bit lower on Mercari than they are on eBay. So it goes, as far as I know, in order of platform fees, goes Poshmark highest, I think at 20%. eBay's next at around, with everything probably 13 to 15%. I believe Mercari is 10%. I think Depop is also around 10%. So that's the order of hierarchy of fees as far as I know. But I used to really do well on Mercari, and then they did the whole buyer transaction fee, or they changed it to no seller fees a year and a half ago or whatever. And that just completely upset the apple cart, completely changed everything for me as a Mercari seller, and I haven't quite figured out how to get back on the bandwagon. This is a Carhartt Journeyman leather belt. Picked this up for $5 at a garage sale, and that sold for $15 plus shipping. And then these next two items were the same buyer. He bought this item first, which is something from the storage unit. This is a SOG, S-O-G, what's it called? Pup 1 knife. That sold for $20.98 plus shipping. And then this is a compass. I thought it was a military compass. It's not. This sold for $6, free shipping. So basically, just as part of this sale, I'll barely be making my money back on the compass, but the knife will be nice profit. That was a good sale from the storage unit. There's a lot of good knives in that storage unit. At first, I thought it was just a bunch of cheap ones, but there were some really higher end, anywhere from $20 to $40 or more in that lot. So that was good. I wish I could figure out the Mercari algorithm. I would love to sell more on there. With the cross lister that I use, Vendu, which I like Vendu. Vendu works really well. I pay the annual fee, which I believe is around $300 a year, and I get 100 listings per month that I can cross list on there. So that could be 1,200 listings a year, that's good. That's a good number. I'd like to start listing 100 items per month on Mercari. If I started to do that, I'm sure Mercari would really open up for me. And so in the month of December, that is going to be my goal, is 100 items listed on Mercari. I'm going to shoot for 5 a day, just like I do on eBay, up until I hit 100, because that's the maximum I can I can do. So maybe I'll do, if there's 31 days in the month, that's like 3.5 or 4 a day. So I might shoot more for that. I want to see if that is the key to the Mercari algorithm. Right now, I think I've sold maybe 8 things on Mercari all year. So really the only way to go from there is up. But it'll be a really good experiment, I think, because I would love to be able to sell on more platforms than just eBay and Poshmark. And Mercari is my second favorite because of, like I said, it's eBay light. Just the number of things that you can sell, the categories that you can sell across are really easy and really complementary to eBay. This item sold. It has been in my display area for a few months. Come on. It is this guy right here. This is a Huger BGM. I think probably from the 60s would be my guess. It's called the Sputnik model because it kind of looks like the satellite Sputnik, and it is a weather station. It was made in West Germany. Like I said, I think in the 60s, maybe the 70s, but it's an MCM type piece. I picked this up for dirt cheap, and it has this big crack in it, but I still sold for $50 plus shipping on that. Without the crack, it could have sold for probably $80 to $100 or more. It also has kind of some tarnish on here, but I priced it below every other listing on there because of the condition issues, and it's still, like I said, sold for $50 plus shipping. Bought that at an estate sale where I made so much money at that estate sale. I wish I could find one of those every week. Obviously, don't we all? It's just such a good sale there. I bet you, I spent $50 on everything, and I bet you I'm up to. I bet you I've made $1,000 off of everything. So, from the Vitamix blender to the tons of Ford shop manuals, some of which I've sold for $100, $75, $50. Coleman lanterns, clothing, just so many things. This sold. This is another Nemesis item. This is the terrain expansion from my big board game buy. This sold for $50 plus shipping right there. All profit now on that. I think we're in the $750-ish range off of everything that I've sold. So, which is not great because I spent $500 on it, but I still have a ton of probably $400 or $500 of items left to sell. When it comes to Depop, I'm not super keen. So Depop is primarily, in my opinion, a clothing site. And it's not that I have anything against clothing, obviously, but because I sell a lot of it. One thing I really dislike about Depop, and I just don't know how to counter this, is, and I think actually Mercari, now that I think about it, is the same way. I don't like either of these, but I don't like how when you, it's designed to shop on your phone. And because of that, it just has thumbnail listings, and it doesn't list like the title or the description. Of course, you can search for things and it'll bring up things that you list in your title and description, but I don't like that when it comes to just the way that I list. I just don't know how to do it. You have to really have a captivating thumbnail photo, and I'm just not always good at that. This sold. It's a G.I. Joe vehicle. It's one of the last ones that I have. $12.50 free shipping. Paid about 20 cents for that, so make about a couple of dollars off of that. It is the Mud Fighter plane. It's got a lot of parts on it that can be used, but it's not complete by any stretch of the imagination. So that's why I didn't make a ton of money. So yeah, I don't know how. But anyway, back to Depop. My son sells a lot of clothes on there, because it's really geared towards a younger crowd, in my opinion. I think most people would agree that the average age of the consumer on there is much younger than on eBay or Poshmark. And so just it's a trend following kind of site. I'm not on, well, if I do find out about the trends, it's usually months after the fact. And it's just not as, I mean, if I was having a ton of success on it, sure, I'd list more on it. But I think I've also only sold about 8 things total on there, so I don't know. But if you are able to figure out that algorithm as well, like I said, the fees are on the lower end, so that certainly helps when it comes to the pros and cons list. These are some Keen Alki shoes. Picked these up for $5 at one of the thrift stores that I go to. That one sold for $29 plus shipping. And then speaking of shoes, I guess, I sold another pair of Crocs sandals. This is actually the 3rd pair that I've sold over the weekend. The other 2 I talked about in the previous video, but I already packed them for shipping. So 3 Crocs sandals sold over the weekend at the end of November. Crocs sandals sell year-round, so don't stop buying them if you can get them for $5 or under and they're in good condition, buy them. If it's above $5, you're gonna want to comp them. So these ones, for example, were $7.99, but as you can see, they are new, and they're just a ballerina flat, I believe, kind of a larger size, women's size 10. For some reason, I promoted this listing, which I don't know why I did that. I never promote things, or rarely. This wouldn't normally be something that I would think to promote, except for maybe the fact that it's the off season. Anyway, those sold for $31.99 free shipping. And these, I just put these in a poly bag, and I usually ship them for $8 or less. So not a huge moneymaker, but they're just so easy to list, so easy to ship. I love Crocs sandals. Not necessarily like the traditional clogs. I don't usually buy those, but these like, I don't know how to describe these, but the sandals that look like sandals, not clogs, that in Crocs makes, I don't know, several dozen different models of them, styles of them. Those ones I'm big on. This next item here, this is the second lot of these, second and last lot. I bought 2 of these for $7.99 each. And I really contemplated not buying these because that was pretty high. But they both sold for $29.99 free shipping. They're about, I don't know, $5 or $6 to ship. These are, there's a set of 4. There's shampoo, conditioner, body wash, and lotion from Natura Bise. But these are from Trump Hotels. So this is the complimentary shampoo and conditioner set and stuff that you get when you stay at a Trump hotel, and people are willing to pay for that kind of stuff. I'm not going to comment politically on it one way or the other than it made me some money, so I sold those $30 free shipping. Probably be like $6 to ship, so $24, $8 purchase price, $16 after fees. It'd probably be like a $12 bill, so not too bad at all. And then last item of the day is a pair of Zero Excursion hiking shoes. Zero is spelled with an X, X-E-R-O. I usually buy these because for whatever reason my thrift store does not price these up. So these were $7.99 and they were in very, very nice condition. I took an offer. They sold for $30 plus shipping on those, but these are like a barefoot style shoe and huge. I think these are size 15 or something like that. So not a normal size. So that also, it took a little bit of time to sell. Yeah, those are size 15. I probably had those for 4 months or so, but you know, $8 into 30. I originally had them listed for 40, took an offer for 30. I'll still take that any day of the week. That's not too bad at all. Like I said, for whatever reason, my thrift store doesn't price these up because they're like $160 shoes new. So Usually when shoes are that expensive new, they're going to charge you at least $20 or try to charge you $20 for any decent condition pair. So, but to sum up, when it comes down to it, like I said before, if you can figure out the algorithm, the platform doesn't really matter. The platform itself, you can sell on any of them. People have success selling exclusively on a platform that you've maybe never sold anything on before. There's, I don't know how many others that I didn't even talk about that people sell exclusively on. So it just comes down to trying to figure out how the algorithm works. And if you're really interested in selling on other platforms, I would search for YouTube videos. I'm sure there are videos out there specifically on how to make the algorithm work for you on whatever platform it is that you are even considering selling on. So that's my recommendation. Search that out, and once you start that system, stick to it. It's not something that you can just dabble in for a couple of days. That's why I'm giving the Mercari system a month. I'm not going to do it for 3 days and then say, oh, I haven't sold anything, so I give up. No, you got to commit to it. And a month might not even be long enough. But so come up with your plan, come up with your system for working with the algorithm, and then invest in it. Invest in the time. Give it at least, I would say at least a month on any of the sites. That way you can really see for sure whether the process and system that you've put in place is actually working. Because I think that is the biggest downfall to success in reselling, is dabbling in this strategy here, that strategy here, trying this for a little bit, not seeing immediate success, giving up, and then just falling back into old habits that aren't always working for you. So that's my summary for the topic of the day. Thank you to the commenter who suggested that. That's going to do it, though. So if you like this video, please like it and subscribe to my channel if you haven't already. Good luck with your ventures out there, reselling or otherwise. Thank you so much to Harley Gal, my PDX Posse member. If you're interested in supporting the channel, click on my bio and choose Join for the membership options. $2.99 a month. That's going to do it. So take care. We'll see you on the next video. Bye-bye.